thing I know about you is that you have ambition to be great. My job is to coach you to get all that greatness out of you.
What's good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one. It is Monday night. I appreciate each and every one of you guys rolling through for this Monday night, this Monday evening show. We got a little bit to talk about. We're gonna hop into Florio's things. I got actually 3 videos on Florio and what he reported today. So we'll start off with what set Dolphins Twitter ablaze in terms of him just discussing Brady and Sean Payton as options, and then we'll go into the details of those. Another thing too is PFN is reporting that they're hearing about Gesicki and the franchise tag, so we'll talk about that. I actually haven't had a chance to watch the McDaniel and Wingfield interview, so I thought we'd just watch that along together tonight. So I got that set up, and then I got a couple little interesting things, something on Nick Needham, and then something just because we just did our free agency show, an interesting little tidbit I read in a CBS mock draft that I wanted to show. So it's kind of about the pick because I've been talking about the person, but it's also about the description of the pick I wanted to talk about too. So we got a few things I wanted to get into tonight. Now, I know a lot of people are up in arms about what's his face, Florio, and even I said, I mean, the guy's batting 0 for like 150 since the last offseason. He needs to reevaluate whoever he has in the building. You know, if you want to talk about a media guy, a mainstream media guy who seems like he has someone legitimately in the building, that's Jason Lockenfora. I've been telling you guys this for over a year. It's Jason Lockenfora. That's the guy that I would listen to. Now, what was interesting, though, was a lot of people just read the article about what Florio said. A lot of people didn't go back and watch all the videos they released, because even Chris Sims, and again, another clown, I understand, but even Chris Sims is out here, and I mean, they're dropping the word sources over and over again. So we'll listen to it all. We'll go through it all. It was just, if you read the article, you don't understand how like they were doubling down and Chris Sims was backing him up. If you read the articles, if you watch the videos, then you'll actually get an understanding of, okay, Chris Sims was out here doubling down with Florio too and putting his credibility on the line, because when you start talking about like sources, and like, if people read my Patreon, if people whatever, I try to use the words like people in the know, because I'm not out here trying to be an Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter. I just got people that are really well in the know, and they funnel information down to me. And as Dolphin fans, I figure you guys would like to know it, so I bring it back to you. I'm not out here trying to be, by no means, if a genie popped out of a bottle right now and said, I'll give you any job to relate to football, by no means would I say Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, please. FYI. So we'll talk about it. You know what I mean? We'll talk about it. So there's a lot to dive into that. And then I found the PFN article very interesting. And the PFF article I found that was very interesting was just it seems like people are forgetting here, and I keep trying to warn people. I keep trying to warn people here that just because you think he's a tight end doesn't mean he's going to be labeled as a tight end. That doesn't mean that at all. So, like, people really need to relax for a little bit, because it's also, here's the thing. It's not up to the Dolphins. It's not up to the Dolphins. you know, it's going to come down to the NFL. And the issue here is that his inline snaps. His inline snaps are it's like 5%. You know? So if you look at him, he's a big slot. That's what he is right now. So, you know, like people need to relax on just automatically thinking he's going to be tagged as a tight end. It's a way, way more complicated thing than that. Way more complicated thing than that. So, gonna have to wait and watch and see how that plays out. And I wanted to ask a question to you guys in the chat right now. Okay. Who, if you were Chris Grier, who would be a bigger priority to you in terms of re-signing, the first guy in line to bring back? Emmanuel Ogbah or Mike Gesicki? I want to hear in the chat right now. Drop it. Mike Gesicki or Emmanuel Ogbah, which one would be the guy you would have first in line? Ogbah all day. Ogbah. Yeah, wow. Both. Mick Godovalo, you can only have one. Howard, neither, both can walk. Okay, that's an answer. I can take that. Wow. If I was Chris Grier, I'd fire myself. Someone said, it is resoundingly Emmanuel Ogbah in the comment section right now. Nick Needham isn't one of them, Justin. I'm just asking, like, if you could only sign one of the, because think of it, they're both big ticket guys. The reason why I'm asking this is Ogbah and Gesicki are both big ticket guys, right? Nick Needham's technically not a big ticket guy yet. Wow, the Ogbah. It's Ogbah, eh? Wow, I didn't expect that, but I'll take it. I'm in agreement with all of you. I am totally in agreement. Now, in all fairness, I'd only give him a 2 or 3 year deal. And I agree with what Wubak just said. I see more value in Ogbah. And then what Joe Levesque just said. Resign Smythe. I could resign Smythe for $4 or $5 million. I could try and get more out of Hunter Long this year as a weapon and obviously utilize him as a blocker. I've got Shaheen already in house. And I think Ogbah is going to be key for Jalen Phillips' development long term. I mean, edge rushers are at a premium. Go look at the edge rusher market right now. The edge rusher market right now, it's thin for what we want to do. I don't want to draft another guy. And I said, you know, when we drafted Jalen Phillips and I did my my little player profile report for you guys back after we drafted him when I did all our first round picks. Well, I did Eichenberg too, I think, right? And I did Hunter Long. So I think I did our first 5 picks. Yeah. Anyways, the thing is with Hunter Long, if you're going to spend that pick, utilize it, and I think he fits the offense as a more rounded weapon. I mean, like, let's be honest. George Kittle, love you, bud. Travis Kelce, love you, bud. But I don't know who you're trying to sell that Gesicki was a top 5 tight end in the NFL. Because all the top 5 tight ends in the NFL can do it all. They're not one-dimensional. I'd be down with OJ Howard for like nothing. For cheap. And my thing is with like, okay, look at this. You can bring back Smythe on the cheap, and our tight end room is pretty full. Even if you bring back Ogba, we still might need a mid-tier free agent or a mid-round draft pick just for depth, because really, what do we have off the edge other than Van Ginkel, who I think should get a look inside, really. Van Ginkel, Ogba, and Jalen Phillips. And the other thing, too, is, back in that little player profile report I did, with all the all 22, and I did the scouting report on them and stuff, the more in-depth scouting report than I did during my big board. I had mentioned them lining up on the same side, right? If you go back to it, I talked about not only could they be, dynamic opposite of each other's left end, right end type of nonsense, but what about, because remember, in a 3-4 scheme, the edge is technically an outside linebacker, right? So I said, in the 3-4, right, that's where you have Raekwon, Wilkins, and then the other end, you make Ogba, and you line Phillips up next to him, and they can just wreak havoc. And the few times we saw that package last year, dude, they were killing it. Like, they were killing it. They were doing a fantastic job. I think Ogba's going to... Another big reason why you got to keep Ogba in-house is I think he's going to be a fundamental piece to Jalen Phillips' development moving forward. That's why I only give him a 2 or 3 year deal. I think by year 4, in the 4-year plus a 5th-year option deal of Jalen Phillips, I don't think Ogba... I think Phillips will be such a beast at that point that it's okay, cool. Walk, and you're in your early 30s. And I agree with what Brett said. You need... And everyone knows this, right? You need a middle linebacker. We need a true Mike, someone who can play that, but is also effective in the run game, but also not a liability in coverage, someone who can do both, right? And by re-signing Ogba, that'll give you the flexibility in the draft to go and try and find that guy. You don't have to go and try find an edge to replace Ogba if you don't sign one. And I like Scotty Joe, what he just said there. You got to keep the duo, just like you got X and Jones on the back end. You got Phillips and Ogba on the front end. So you give him that 2 to 3 year deal. By the time it's over, give him a 3-year deal. By the time it's over, he's like 31, going on 32. Right? Guaranteed most of the money in the first 2 years. And then the 3rd year, even low, make sure it's an out year if you want. If the play declines once he's enters his 30s. It makes sense. It really does. But, well, joint to joint, I think if Gesicki walks, they're going to get a receiver anyways, right? Like, I think if Gesicki stays, they're going to try and get a receiver anyways. So, that's... I just think Ogba, I mean, I remember how excited me and EM Dolphin fan were when we signed Ogba, because we thought he was the perfect fit in this defense. And he's been nothing but. I mean, he's had career years in this defense. And he's been able to stay healthy. And that was obviously a big issue in Cleveland and Kansas City, and we got it out of him. Knock on wood, he stays healthy. So we'll get into all that. Let's start off, though, with the Florio deal. Let's hop right into things here. And I'm going to play. There's 3 videos we're going to play, okay? So here's your first one. So Dolphins wanted to pursue Sean Payton and Tom Brady for 2022. Let's hear. This is what set everyone on fire.
And, anytime somebody teases something, the payoff never quite matches it. So we didn't tease it real hard, did we? You saw what I wrote.
Right.
You saw what I tweeted. We didn't go over the top. We didn't say it's going to change your life. We just said we're going to have a pretty interesting nugget right out of the gates. Is that fair?
Yeah, very fair. I would say it's more than
nugget.
It's definitely. I think it will classify as more than an interesting nugget once everybody hears it, digest it a little bit.
And just so folks out there understand, we're going to talk about it over the course of the next 20, 25 minutes.
Did Chris Sims get punched in the right eye? Did Chris Sims run into a fan? Look at his right eye. This man looks like, remember, his right, not your right, his right. This man looks like he got decked in the right eye. You're telling me this man doesn't look like he ran into a Dolphin fan on the streets? Okay. Did someone on Twitter claim this? Who got a hold of him, bro? Who got a hold of him? Marino's goat says Poison Oak. Who got a hold of this guy? Who got a hold of this guy's eye? Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh, jokes.
Minutes or so, maybe longer, who knows? But this is something that I initially heard weeks ago. And then I heard it more recently, and I told Chris about it. And Chris heard a few things about it, and we kind of bounced it off of each other. And it dawned on me late last week, you know what? I think we got enough here to go with something. Now, there's a lot of
talking about the Dolphins,
that I don't
Florio.
think is ready to be reported, if it's ever going to be ready to be reported, because I think a lot of it's supposition, speculation, conjecture. Maybe it's right, maybe it's wrong. But I'm extremely confident as to the core of what we're about to tell you. And what we're about to tell you is that even though the Dolphins currently have Mike McDaniel as their head coach, and by all appearances are very happy with that.
Yeah,
they're moving forward for now with Tua Tagovailoa as their quarterback. At one point in the offseason, following the firing of Brian Flores and prior to the filing of his lawsuit, the Dolphins, we're told via multiple sources, had planned to pursue a package deal.
Yes, sir.
At coach and quarterback.
Right.
The coach would have been Sean Payton. And Chris, the quarterback would have been your favorite.
TB12, baby.
Really.
The GOAT. I do like him. Don't pin me in that corner already. I do like Tom Brady, but yes.
You like him, you just think he cheated.
Yes, I do. Right. But that's it. Other than that, there's a lot to respect about the guy. The guy's awesome. I get that. But like mind-blowing when you hear that. Sean Payton, Tom Brady, package deal, Miami Dolphins. What? Brady's supposed to be retired. Payton needs a break. What the hell's going on in the NFL? That's the first thing I thought of when I started to hear this, these things. And of course, heard it from you and started to make some calls and talk to some people and started to hear it more and more to verify that it was true, of course.
And here's what we're actually reporting. We're reporting that the Dolphins had planned to pursue Payton and Brady for 2022, and that the Flores lawsuit caused the plug to be pulled. There's plenty of stuff out there as to who made the decision to pull the plug, why the plug got pulled, when it got pulled, but all that matters is they had a plan that they were pursuing, and after the Flores lawsuit, that was the end of it. That's the guts of the report. And anything else we talk about will just be ideas and thoughts, and maybe it means this or maybe it means that.
Hi, I'm Mike Tariq.
Okay. Now, I got two other videos I'm going to show you. One in regards to more specifics on Sean Payton, and another one on more specifics in regarding, Tom Brady a little bit here. But, I mean, this is pretty big news, man. And the name that I've heard consistently that Sean Payton would only come back to is for the Cowboys. And so, I don't know, man. Like, I know there were things in the work and there were people that they talked to that, didn't really get talked publicly about. But that's a pretty, that's pretty substantial for nothing to even leak out. And my whole thing here too is like, let's be honest for a sec. What the Tom Brady thing? right? You think he wants to come down to play with this offense right now? You know how much fixing they need? Like, think of the pieces that were already in place when he went to Tampa Bay. Mike Evans was there. Chris Godwin was there. Cameron Brate was there. O.J. Howard was there. Ryan Jensen was there. Ali Marpet was there, et cetera, et cetera. They only needed some tinkering. Like, Wirfs was like a cherry on the top. You know what I mean? They only needed some tinkering here. It's ridiculous. And over here, you know, our defense might be set, but our offense is far from it. So, I don't know. I got a real issue trying to believe this stuff. I don't know. It doesn't. Some stuff comes off as believable out there that gets put out there. This stuff comes off as, yeah, I don't know if you're selling me this one. But anyways, let's continue on. This is what he said this is what they had to say in regards to, they said we got denied permission. They went as far as saying the Miami Dolphins got denied permission to talk to Sean Payton. So check this out.
I reached out to the Dolphins to let them know this is what we are reporting. Please give us your reaction, your response. We want to give you a chance to chime in. Now, on the record, officially, Dolphins had no comment. But I can report on top of our prior report based upon Dolphin sources who chose to be anonymous due to the sensitivity of the issue that, and we'll start with the Payton angle. They did contact the Saints for permission to speak to Sean Payton.
There you
after
go.
he resigned, and before the Flores lawsuit, they contacted the Saints for permission to talk to Payton.
This man's
and
doubling
Saints said
down.
no. That's what Dolphin sources who have requested anonymity due to the sensitivity of the situation tell me. So, look, now we know how that game goes. I don't think you make that call, Chris, unless you got a pretty good idea.
No, because that's where
You're going to get what you want.
Exactly. That's where, you know, again, I think you and I, hopefully the fact that we're bringing this story out there will start to maybe get more details from people maybe know details that, you know, haven't come out yet. But that's the first thing that I think is hard to believe. And that was the thing that I was told, you know, right off the bat, Mike, when I kind of started to fish around and talk to people a little bit. That no, there was a little bit
now
more
Sims
than,
is
hey, we reached out
doubling down
to the
with
New
them.
Orleans Saints to
See?
just see if we can maybe get Sean Payton. Absolutely not. It's like you have said many a times, when that call's made in the NFL, they already know there's interest. They make the call because they've already talked behind the scenes to go, hey, we got interest in each other. Now we're going to call your team up and officially tell them and see where it go from there. So, and that's where I was told as far as the Sean Payton aspect is that there was some tentative conversations as well about the compensation Miami would have to give
So
to New
Sims
Orleans.
is saying that there's compensation.
Again, hopefully we can figure these things out. I know that's what Miami's telling you, but from my trusted sources too, I know enough to know that, yeah, I think it was a little farther down the road than what Miami's trying to tell you right now, at least. Yeah.
Look, well, and again, these are team sources who requested.
Yes, right. I
anonymity
know. Right.
Due to the sensitivity of the
Right.
situation, we're trying to be very responsible here,
Right.
and I'll help keep you on the horse and not land in the poison ivy patch. So, we went through this just a few weeks ago. When Sean Payton resigned as coach of the Saints, I shared the nugget from Playmakers out in 15 days, by the way. I'm not even going to say pre-order anymore. Just order it. By the time the next 2 weeks pass, you'll have it. There was a deal in place unofficially for Payton to become the coach of the Cowboys 3 years ago, and it was Anthony Davis, of all people, the then Pelicans forward, who made it known he wasn't going to stay with the team and he wanted to be traded. Mickey Loomis was in charge of the Pelicans at the time. He was still and continues to be the GM of the Saints. That's, Loomis said, hey, I can't do this. It was ready to go. The ball was on the tee. All they had to do was activate the process. And calling the team is the activation of the process. So in that case, I think even the deal between the Saints and the Cowboys was in place behind the scenes. In this case, it's just the Saints didn't want to do it.
Right.
Saints don't want to do it, which kind of surprises me because anything you get for Sean Payton is more than nothing. Right now they have nothing for Sean Payton.
Right.
Now, unless their attitude is whatever the Dolphins were willing to give us, we'll get next year if he goes to coach the Cowboys, or the year after that if he goes to coach the Cowboys, which is what people in the business just kind of generally assume is going to happen. Even if it doesn't, That's what people assume is going to happen. And maybe the Saints are thinking he'll be in Dallas 2023, 2024. We'll get whatever we would have gotten from the Dolphins then.
I guess you're right. I never really thought about that aspect as far as like it could happen, yeah, you're right. Next year, 2 years down the road, certainly. But again,
All right. So these guys are now, they've dipped their toes into the compensation was discussed. It was further along than just, you know what I mean? It was further along than just, testing the waters. There was legitimate compensation discussed. I mean, okay. All right, we're doubling down. We're starting to double down. And I don't know why the Dolphins are always the team they talk about, because whoever their sources have been, especially with the Watson stuff, you know what I mean? Watson was going to get traded to us every single day during the regular season and last offseason. It was ridiculous, even when it was like quiet and not happening. So, last little piece here. This is what they had to say about would Tom Brady have returned for Sean Payton in the Miami Dolphins? This is what they would say in return to that.
Now, there will be people, especially Buccaneers fans, who say, "Well, why would he
they're
not
gonna be
want to
pissed,
play
right?
for our favorite team anymore?" And this has been percolating around there. And Rich Ornberger, who played in the NFL for a number of years, played with Brady in New England.
Yeah,
he had a series of tweets week and a couple of days ago, and he was very strident about it. He said his sources are impregnable that Brady was disillusioned with Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And it should be no surprise to anyone that Arians wasn't grinding the way Bill Belichick does, wasn't grinding the way Sean Payton does. He was delegating a lot of things, delegating the construction of the offense to Brady and offensive coordinator Byron Leftwich.
Right.
And, in any workplace, I don't care what the industry is, if the boss isn't working as hard as everyone else and everyone else is busting their asses, at some point you're going to have resentment.
No
At
doubt.
some point there's going to
I'll
be
talk
a
about
moment
that in
of
a sec,
friction where the
George.
boss tries to chime in, and the people who have been busting their asses are saying, wait a minute, we know what's going. We're here trying to solve these problems. You just can't barnstorm in and tell us do this, don't do this, don't do this. And I think that was some of the guts of what Ornberger was saying, that Arians was swooping in and changing things in the game plan when he wasn't there to construct the game plan. And, you can only take so much of that. When you got 20 years of Bill Belichick devoting every single minute of his life to winning football games, and you go to a guy who's semi or mostly retired as the head coach, you're going to notice a difference.
No doubt. I mean, Belichick's all-time grinder, like we've talked about. I mean, that's just what he is. He's the greatest worker in the history of the NFL. Never stops, never. I mean, even on vacation, he's sitting there, riding waves, watching film. It never ends. It's just the way he is. So there's nothing to live up to that. And that's what's percolating around the NFL, Mike. Is that exactly what you're explaining there? First off, yeah, when you're the head coach of a football team or the boss, you need to be the hardest worker. You're being paid the most. You're the example setter, all of that. I think you look at the great organizations in football, their head coaches are they're greatest workers that way. But yes, what you hear from people around the NFL was there was some sort of disconnect or resentment as far as Leftwich, Brady laying down the game plan. And the thing I continue to hear is Bruce Arians coming in on a Thursday or Friday and then changing things up, crossing things out. No, we're not going to do this. We're going to do that, and blah, blah, blah. And that, to me, is where I've heard there was a little friction in the relationship to a degree. But, yeah, I mean, Brady, I'm sure if Tampa Bay fans hear this right now, they're not going to like that. They're not. And they're also, it's intriguing in the fact where you go, man, I don't know if he'd really play. What's the deal there? Man, why wouldn't you want to go back to Tampa? I understand the lifestyle thing in Miami, but there's just so many things to unpack about this whole thing. I think that's that's why it's such a cool subject.
Well, and look, there's been so much smoke about Brady not actually being retired, starting with him.
Okay, so they're setting, they're setting the basis of, okay, he would come to the Dolphins because everything's not picture perfect in Tampa. He still wants to play, blah, 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 blah. Shout out to the watch. Mr. Chris Sims put stickers on fruit. That's jokes. So that's hilarious. So, like that's the ground they're trying to set up of why he would come to the Dolphins is because he's not going back to Tampa, doesn't like the coach. He would play, notice how they mentioned Sean Payton's one of the hardest workers, right? But I got to ask myself, like, did Tua turn down Florio's daughter? Like, what happened here? Or did Tua give Florio's wife a night she'll never forget? I don't get it right now. Like, I just, they keep talking about it and talking about it. Now, I believe the whole minority owner thing because I have heard rumblings about that for quite some time. But, one of my guys was really locked in. And even, I mean, if you're a Patreon, I gave you a Thursday update and said McDaniel's going to be wrapped by the end of the weekend. And they still had their second interview with McDaniel or Kellen Moore. And, I never put timestamps on anything. I never, really put like, that was me putting my nuts on the line, my neck on the line. And it's because of how good that source was and has been all year. And because they've given me multiple tidbits that have come true. And, what's crazy to me is I didn't hear anything about Sean Payton. Anything. And the Sean Payton retirement thing happened so quickly. You know what I mean? So it's like we all got the news he was retiring. Then, like, the next day or the day after that, they had the press conference. But they're acting like we had weeks of talk here for Sean Payton. I still think Brady's going to be interested in being a minority owner in some way. But I think he just wants to find out whether he's retiring or not. So, and we all know, I've talked about it here, Brady has a great relationship with Bruce Beal, who's the successor to Stephen Ross. So, I don't know. The Sean Payton thing, I really have a hard time believing. And then Brady as a coming here to play again. I mean, remember, before Sean Payton, even rumblings of him retiring, when the coaching search began, it was known that they were interested in a candidate that would work with Tua as well. So, like, that was something we had heard early on. Now, do I still think they would have upgraded if they could have? Probably. But I don't know. It's just it's kind of a lot of things don't add up when you put everything into a vacuum. A lot of things just don't add up. So I personally, I don't really buy into this. I'm not here calling anyone a liar or nothing, but I got a real tough time believing this one. And Florio, I mean, when I have a far better track record than a guy like Mike Florio, who's on NBC and Peacock, I mean, tell me what you think I believe. This guy's batting like 0 for 150 since last offseason. So, absolutely, I don't know if I can buy into Florio and what Sims. And kudos for Sims for backing up his buddy and doubling down. Funny thing is, they probably have the same source. It's probably Phil. Let's be honest. Interesting article here by PFN today. And Mike K, who recently joined them, said source Mike Gesicki, Browns, David Njoku could receive franchise tag ahead of deadline. The tight end class of in 2022 NFL free agency is full of notable names, but a pair of standouts, the Dolphins, Mike Gesicki, and the Browns, David Njoku, could receive the franchise tag ahead of the March 8th deadline, leaving the rest of the group to cash in on long-term deals. Both Gesicki and Njoku are viewed as candidates to be franchise tagged by their prospective teams by next week's deadline, a league source who was granted anonymity told Pro Football Network on Monday. The tag is valued at around $11 million for tight ends this season. According to the source, $11 million is a very reasonable number for the current tight end market if either players are to be tagged. So, according to Spot Track, Gesicki's annual value is right around $11 million mark. The annual average would place him 6th amongst tight ends. It would also put him in worthy contention of the franchise tag. The Dolphins have a league-leading $60.2 million in projected salary cap space, so he'd fit well within that total, even on the tag. Gesicki has improved his numbers every year throughout his rookie contract. Last season, he caught 73 passes for 780 yards and 2 touchdowns. And at 26, Gesicki is entering his prime. He is ranked by PFN NFL analyst Dalton Minner's 22nd best free agent this offseason. Okay, here's your issue with this, though. He's not a tight end. Like, this is the problem here. I mean, and you don't even have to dig that deep to try and find out that he's not a tight end, right? Literally, all you got to do is go into his snap counts, go into how he was used. Like, this is a man. Okay, I want people to realize, like, 11 pass blocks he was asked to do this year. 11. I had his most ever for run blocking reps he was in. But here's the thing. It's where was he lined up? Right? He had 827 offensive snaps this year. 99 of them were as an inline tight end. That's an issue. And every year it's been steadily going down. In 2019, he had 159 snaps in line. In 2020, he had 122. In 2021, he had 99. To me, that's an issue. And if you can get him under the tight end in 11 million, I'm down for that. But I think he's out here, and I'm telling you right now, he wants to be paid like a big slot receiver. And that's the case his agent's going to make. That's the case he's going to make. And the thing is, again, the Dolphins do not decide. It's the NFL. And if that happens, that's an issue, man. So he was lined up 99 times in line this year, okay? Only 44 of those were on passing attempts. So less than half of his inline snaps were on passing attempts. In fact, it was 44, and that equates to about 7.4% of his snaps this year came in line. 18.2% of his snaps came out wide on the boundary. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Net 29.2. I apologize. 29.2. I was looking at a game specific. 29.2% of his snaps came out wide, about 173 of his snaps. Pass situation snaps. And 62.5%, aka 370 of his snaps on passing plays came in the slot. That is exactly what he's going to try and label himself as. I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to try and label and sell himself as a tight end. That's just the way this is going. Reason, would you rather have oft injured Armstead? I don't like Cam Robinson. I've got big issues with Cam Robinson. I don't think he's very good. Right? You look at people who are worried about Armstead and his injury. All I got to do is go back to the unicorn line when we had Brandon Albert. Brandon Albert was injured, but look at how good that line was still. So back to Gesicki here. So when you got a guy who 7.4%, I apologize, 7.4% of his snaps come in line. Only 44 of his pass snaps this year were in line compared to 173 out wide, which is 29.2%, and 370 in the slot, which is about 62.5%. He's going to get labeled as a big slot. And if he's labeled as a big slot, that franchise tag is going to be more than $11 million. And I don't think enough people are talking about this. We're just all assuming. We're just all assuming that he's going to get paid as a tight end. And he very well could be, but I have my doubts. I truly have my doubts. I got to show some props. Shout out to the homie Nick Needham. Most man coverage snaps played without allowing a touchdown this season out of all cornerbacks. Number 1 was Bryce Hall with 203. Number 2 was Nick Needham. Pay that man. Keep him. Anthony, if he, I think he's going to command hovering around 13, 14 million as a slot. But if he gets tagged as a slot receiver, you have to pay him the wide receiver tag, which is like 20 million. Shout out to Nick Needham. Pay this man. This man played for $800,000 last year, and you got the quality of play of a guy making more than $5.5 million per year. Pay this man. Pay Nick Needham. You need him here, especially as Byron Jones and Xavier Howard creep on 30. Pay this man. And shout out to his amazing mother out there, Shannon Needham. She's awesome. Always nice whenever we spoke. So pay this man. This man belongs in Miami. He's homegrown. He's proven it. As a rookie, this man took on the responsibility of a number 1 cornerback. As a rookie, pay this man. I need to see some more pick Knicks as I continue living as a Dolphin fan. Just a little interesting tidbit I wanted to show you guys. CBS, they came up with a mock draft. First of all, they had us taking a name that I've been saying makes a lot of sense if he's there at 29, and that's Tyler Linderbaum, especially if you're going into, our outside zone scheme, right? So this is a little tidbit is what's interesting, though. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is likely to run a wide zone Shanahan-esque scheme that relies on mobility and space, As Miami searches for offensive line upgrades, I would love to see it sign Terran Armstead and draft Tyler Linderbaum. Man, if you signed Terran Armstead and then you got Lakeland Tomlinson at left guard and you drafted Tyler Linderbaum and you went out and you got, I don't know, Trent Brown or Morgan Moses, or you got a right tackle and you got Robert Hunt at right guard, man, the turnover of that offensive line. But I find it interesting that even in mock drafts, they're talking about how good of a fit Terran Armstead is. Remember, he was my number 2 free agent target. Linderbaum, if Linderbaum is there at 29, I love him. Jamison Williams makes a lot of sense. Treylon Burks makes a lot of sense. Have your pick of the running back litter makes a lot of sense. I know people are all on board with Zion. At 29, I don't know how I feel about. I have to see how the board falls offensive line wise before, because I actually think I like Zion Nelson, but I think the best interior guy is probably going to be Kenyon Green, the left tackle from Texas, if you kick him into left guard. So, and I don't know where he's going to go. I keep saying this. If I can get a pick of the litter, of all the running backs, or I can get one of the top wide receivers, in terms of the third or fourth best wide receiver. I feel like offensive line by 29, if Linderbaum's not there, right? Linderbaum is the best. Him and Kenyon Green, I think, are I think they're the best interior guys in this draft. I think Linderbaum, it's the biggest drop off from him to 2. I just think Nelson, I don't, try and get him at 50. I wouldn't be taking him at 29. So, yeah, Brees Hall ain't going to be there in the third, Jim. So, I just find it interesting that even the publications are like, yo, Terran Armstead. And again, as we know, our new offensive coordinator, Frank Smith, he was the assistant line coach in New Orleans when they drafted him, Terran Armstead, and he was very instrumental in the development of Terran Armstead. So makes a lot of sense. Finally, guys, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I wanted to watch it with all of you guys and let's live react. A little bit of a live reaction. It's only 14 minutes long here. And Travis Wingfield had a chance to sit down with Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel. So I figured, hey, let's watch it together. I haven't had a chance yet. I was so busy all day. So I thought, hey, who better to watch it with than all my Finside fam, right? So we'll take a look at this in a second here. I just want to say again, I know it's Monday night. I know it's been a long week. I want to, again, like I did last week, shout out to everyone affected by what's going on in Europe right now. We're all praying for peace and a quick resolution. I think it's absolutely awful. Nothing but love to y'all, and I appreciate you guys taking some time out of the harsh realities of what's going on in the world right now to spend some time with me and talk some Dolphins. I love each and every one of you. Subscribe if you're new. We are under 70 away from 7,000. So subscribe if you're new. Smash that like button. Help me with my friend Algorithm. Let's get into this, man. I haven't had a chance to watch it, so let's watch it together.
What's up, Dolphin fans? Travis Wingfield here, the host of the Drive Time podcast on the Miami Dolphins Podcast Network, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by head coach of the Miami Dolphins, Mike McDaniel, general manager Chris Grier. Guys, welcome in.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to have you into the living room set here. Mike, your second time back with me here, and you guys have worked together for about a month or so now. How has the process of kind of the melding of the minds played out as you prepare for both free agency and the draft?
So, just like that. It's been a real cool process, to be honest, because there's a part of Chris's process that I can identify with, that I kind of want for me as a head coach, and being deliberate in everything you do. He's very patient in how he goes through his process, and that's something that going into this job, that was a big deal for me in terms of how I wanted to approach it. It's been very fulfilling, but also challenging to keep up with this guy. he's a lot later night guy than I am, so he burns me out. But I let him carry the conversation when we get towards about this time to 10 p.m.
I have to imagine you reciprocate some of those feelings through the interview process and now working alongside Coach.
Yeah,
Brady.
and he's a lot earlier in the morning than I am too, so so it balances. And but no, it's been fun with the coaching staff that Mike's put together. All the coaches have been fantastic in terms of getting us going, and in terms of free agency, the draft, preparing for the combine here. Working with Mike, like you said, the conversation we're having today about just the process when you gather the information, putting it all together. And I've learned things from him too as well. So this is not just, one way of doing it. There's always ways that you try and learn from other people and different ways of doing things from his experiences, with other teams have been successful. And so it's been a really good process so far.
Have those conversations you guys have had come up in some film sessions you've had together? And if you've watched film together, current Dolphins players, free agent prospects, draft prospects, what have you guys kind of learned from each other in that process?
I would say, like the other day with the scouts, Mike has prepared a tape of what he's looking for at, the running back position. It was a great teaching moment, for us, and the offensive coaching staff came in and sat and listened.
Did he show y'all some tape on offensive linemen?
For all the scouts and coaches to be in the
Tell me he showed you some tape on
about,
offensive linemen, Chris.
At the position, and the things that Mike has had success in finding players at San Francisco. I know our scouts would really appreciate, because I know a couple of them reached out to Mike and said how much they enjoyed it.
Is that something you had kind of prepared ahead of time?
Flores didn't do something like that
as you've gotten here.
No, that's what's exciting about working with Chris.
That's details. I told you, this man's OCD.
The situation, thinking I'm going to do X, Y, or Z. It's working with him, and it takes a lot of people to really chase to have one vision, and facilitating that. No, you don't know if that is even an opportunity really until you're in a building working with people, and that's part of the positives of being in.
Anthony says
Miami
he's showing me why drafting
you guys mentioned that kind of
Austin
singular vision you did, Coach, and I'm sure that's shared between both of you.
He would have
you
never
kind of developed together a core list of traits of what you want to look for in a Miami Dolphin under this current regime.
Yeah, and
I better not hear high character.
We've talked about it with the coaches and scouts, but first and foremost, you're always looking for guys that love football.
And it's not. It doesn't have to also just be flatline. Hey, let's have this conversation. For instance, my first week on the job, there's players coming to my office to speak with me for the first time, and in those
Jason
players,
Leo is
I'm
in
recognizing
my top 5
traits that
linebackers.
I prioritize. So
He's a beast.
We don't have to have those conversations, although we do. But the most tangible way that I know that we're on the same page is the players that Chris and his staff have acquired before I was even here. Their values, I can feel their passion when they're talking to me about the Miami Dolphins moving forward. And that, there's indicators like that all over the place as well. We're, entering into this whole thing knowing that our philosophies are kind of parallel.
So you inherit a roster of players that fits a lot of those cores, and now we head into the scouting combine this week, where that's the idea, is trying to find players that fit those core Miami Dolphins traits. And as you guys head into the combine, what can you look back and say, we accomplished this, therefore the week at the combine?
Rome, if we would have drafted Justin
Jefferson. Really enjoy sitting down, talking to players, and the underwear Olympics part of it, as we talked about, is that part is always important to see, but it's really, I think for us, we were talking about how important it is, the interview parts, that we really get to sit down and really meet the players for the first time.
So the behind the scenes, obviously important, the on the field stuff has its importance too. How do you kind of balance what you see with the on field workouts compared to what you see on tape, and how those two things kind of come together for the overall evaluation?
Well,
good questions,
that's one
Travis.
thing that,
killing this.
Again, we see things similarly, where Chris was very clear about, hey, this portion of the evaluation, we try to focus on football and keeping that separate from the people, so you can have equal evaluations and then bring them together, which he articulated a lot better than I had in my mind. But I was like, yeah, that makes total sense to me. He does such a great job of giving me wisdom without insulting, like, hey, young guy, this makes more sense. And so we were able to bridge stuff together, and that's what's defining how we do stuff, if that makes sense.
No, it makes total sense. And kind of the same question to you, Chris, when you look at, obviously your scouting process goes through the course of the whole season, the college season, and you get to this point. How do you kind of balance what you see out there on the underwear Olympics, as you called it, versus what you see on tape, and how that kind of makes the overall evaluation.
Again, it's all parts, like Coach was saying. You're taking the film from the fall, so you said that who he is as a player tells you what he is as a player on the field in game situations. Then now the interview process, all-star games, you get to see like small college guys taking on guys from Alabama or something, so you get a better feel there. Then you do the interview process, so you get to know the guys the first time. Then you got the 30 visits after that, and you're spending more time with them. And then that leads up to the April meetings and the draft. And so you put all that together, and that helps us, hopefully make good decisions, and
I can't wait. I am so excited.
No one does, but you try and make the best educated decisions we can with all the information we get.
Yeah, it's a lengthy process. And Coach, obviously you get the benefit of working with Chris and the experience of his staff. And has there been any crossover between the coaching staff and the scouting staff as you guys kind of work together to build this roster this offseason?
Crossover in terms of
watching tape together, the conversations.
Oh yeah,
all that stuff.
that's part of
Let's
the
go.
process that Chris early on made clear that he found was valuable. I said, you know what? I think it's valuable too. Yeah, there's been in terms of speaking on players, acquiring information.
Oh man, I wish there was a fly on the wall in those meetings.
Full understanding of the process and how you have to take the time to gather all the information. That's what I personally find so valuable. Within that, you have time to say, hey, this is our time to talk about the backgrounds of these players together so we can hear it. Oh, we have some time that we can watch some film together. All that crossovers, having been in numerous organizations, I know how special that is.
To Mike's credit, he always thought that was a valuable thing too, to have coaches and scouts, so everyone's on the same page and know what we're looking for. And Coach Embry came in. He was only here for like 2 days. He came in and just wanted to sit in on meetings, and it was great. He came in, sat in, and I know he knew, like Reggie McKenzie and Marvin Allen and those guys, and he would ask questions on stuff, and and listening and taking in information, asking them questions and their opinions to really hear what they thought about stuff. So it's been pretty cool, and all the coaches have been just like that.
That's a result of the environment. What you see is what you get with Chris. And that is a powerful thing in the place of leadership, because Coach Embry's there for 2 days and he jumps in, takes a seat right at the corner, almost violating your personal space and your note taking. And they're just going to work like we've been working together for years. And that we've both been fortunate enough to have enough experience in the NFL to know that is something that, we all are passionate about our jobs. But if you can do stuff with people that are like-minded in the pursuit of the same goal, with no ego or no worry about who's getting credit or what, more often than not, you hope you can get to the answers that are best for the team.
So you guys felt that click pretty quickly.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Interview process, was part of that. Probably?
I mean, he hired me, so I think
it went okay, right?
I think it worked out, but definitely it was. That's a big part of it too.
So the combine coming up this week, always one of the best opportunities.
Combine starts tomorrow, everyone.
One trait we hear a lot, or a phrase I should say we hear a lot, is raw. This player is raw. When you have an opportunity to draft a player who is quote unquote raw, and the high upside and the risk adversity you have to approach a player to that, how do you kind of balance the value of what your coaching staff can do to develop said player, because he maybe needs a little bit more development, opposed to a player who came into the league with more production and a proven resume? How do you kind of balance that with a new coaching staff?
Well, I think at the end of the day,
that's a tough one.
I think at the end of the day, really very few players, you probably have maybe 10% come in they're ready to handle pro football, but a lot of these guys are all going to need development. So you can say they're all raw. And I think, coaching staff, especially the staff Mike's put together, are teachers, and that's the fun part of the group he's put together, is that doing the research and talking to people about it, as he was recommending guys. Everyone talked about what great teachers are, how smart they are, and how engaging they get their players to be with them. And so that's the exciting part of staff he's put together, and looking forward to seeing them on the field in the spring. But the majority of these players, again, are raw prospects.
So heading into the offseason here, you guys enter this portion of the calendar with almost no dead cap, Chris, and the most available cap space heading into free agency. How does that kind of help you guys to formulate a plan for the offseason to improve this football team in the kind of player acquisition period here?
being able to know that we have flexibility to do stuff is good. But at the end of the day, we're going to build the team that's best for us.
Yeah, it's not like mom's allowance she just gave you. That you're just like, hey, we have some money, let's go spend it. Flexibility for sure, that matters, but then that doesn't always mean, hey, you have money, you can spend it, which is, why I rely on him so much, because he Mike, now let's think about it. That's a huge part of the process that coaches are can be short-sighted at times, so you need
Wow,
proper
look at how
balance,
humble
when
this
talking
man
through
is.
anything, especially when you're talking about
Look at this.
salary cap and spending limits and all these numbers that I'm like, well, I know what a post and a slant and a dig are. If we want to talk about that.
So you gave me a great segue to my final question here, talking about the kind of patience and impatience at times. When you talk about a development plan for a player, Chris, you talk a lot about developing your guys in-house and eventual draft picks. Is that when you look at a player you're looking to draft, is there a long-term focus in terms of we plan to develop this way in year 1 to year 2 to year 3 to eventually get that player to where you ultimately see their projection? And how do you guys kind of collaborate on that?
We don't necessarily micromanage it every time you do anything. Get the best player available. You're trying to sign the best player that you can that's responsible for your team. Yeah, you'd like to say, hey, this guy's going to be X, Y, or Z at this year. But there's a lot of variables that go into that. So you just really have to invest in people, and you're investing in the coaches that are dealing with them every day, to make sure that they teach them as best they can, and you have confidence that everyone's putting their best foot forward. And you know what? Maybe a guy develops slow in year 1, but then he accelerates in year 2. The ambition doesn't stop, or the vision doesn't stop. Maybe he accelerates a ton in year 1. We better not take a step back in year 2. It's all part of doing our job on a daily basis as best we can, and relying on each other to come to the best decisions we possibly can make.
That's all I got for you guys. Appreciate you guys' time today. And St. Elmo's, is that the place to go in Indy? What's the best place in Indy to eat?
St. Elmo's good. Harry and Izzy's is a good spot.
Isn't that right next door?
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a lot of quality control days where I ate 3 meals a day at Steak and Shake.
Yeah, like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, no, but I mean, at like 10 in the morning, I've learned to appreciate it. I actually saw one on the freeway.
There's one on right down the university.
That's where I have no idea where anything is, but right now. But I know I saw one, and I was like, hey, I'll see you later.
There you go. You can lean on him for some roster building advice and your Steak Shack location advice as well. Appreciate you guys' time today. Head coach Mike McDaniel, GM Chris Grier. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Oh man, awesome stuff. Yes, the combine does start tomorrow, and guys, if any big news happens, obviously we're going to talk about it here because it's going to be interesting stuff. I can't wait for the combine to start tomorrow. It's that time, baby. It's that time of the year. We're getting to draft season, and I will be dropping my running back big board this week. Yeah, I saw a lot of people discussing how Mike McDaniel uses running backs. I mean, listen, Elijah Mitchell last year was the workhorse. The only reason why Elijah Mitchell didn't get all the snaps was because he got hurt. It was going to be all him and Debo. Other than that, Raheem Mostert, the year before that, was their leading rusher. Again, stepped in because their leading back got hurt. People haven't realized that going back to when they signed Jerick McKinnon to all that money when he left Minnesota, Shanahan and Mike McDaniel the last couple of years, every person they've drafted to be their lead back has gotten hurt. 6th round pick Mitchell, but they also drafted Trey Sermon in the 3rd round. Let's all remember that. People forget they drafted 2 running backs last year. They drafted Trey Sermon in the 3rd round, and then Irving, don't drop those crappy articles I'm going to give you one warning. Don't drop those crappy articles in my chat, because I don't mess with those guys. So don't drop that. So, and that's, I mean, I don't need to read articles. I watch tape. I don't need to read someone else's opinion on Twitter. I watch tape. I mean, I just finished doing a breakdown of a full breakdown of Lake and Tomlinson and why he makes sense. I just watched how much all 22 of their offense. I know what to expect. I've been down that road. I just dropped a video last week. So, and I've been the one who's been telling y'all what he's been running since he was even a candidate. So I don't need no tweet. I don't need no article. Watch the tape. It'll tell you what people run. Scotty Joe says that UGA running back Cook may follow to us. That's Dalvin Cook's brother. He is also working with Perform. So that would be another Perform athlete in the building. You know what I'm saying? So, thank you, Losfa. Yeah, I don't need these articles. I don't need these tweets, man. I've already been explaining to y'all what his offense is going to be like for months since he was an option. I've even explained it why as to when I've said, when everyone was saying 2 in New Orleans, when I was saying no, 2 under Kyle Shanahan, I was explaining why. So that's why you don't see me pulling up articles of other people telling me what to expect of their offense, because I already know, because I do my homework. I don't need other people to tell me what it's going to, If you need someone else to tell you what something's going to look like, you're not doing the work hard enough yourself. I like Cook. James Cook, I like him, man. Different running back than his brother, though. Do I think Jared Dokes might get a crack? Probably not. Again, another guy who he's not a McDaniel guy, late round pick, out here struggling, right? Struggling to even crack it. And I don't think he's the type of runner they want in this offense. So it doesn't make sense. Isaiah, brother, I finished my running back big board. So I've already checked out Jerome Ford, and he's already on my big board already. So my wide receiver big board is finalized. My running back big board is finalized. And my linebacker big board is finalized. And I've piecing together a couple other ones, but they're about to be finalized probably by the end of this week. So I'll be dropping the running back big board on you guys. I'm going to be aiming for Thursday. So be out on the lookout for that. Guys, y'all already know what time it is, man. I am going to be back tomorrow night. And what happens is, especially as Columbine stories come out, guys who I'm interested in, I'm going to be talking about. So last year we had some Combine stuff come out. Obviously the pro days are going to start too. So, we're going to get to it, man. So as news comes in over the next couple of days, we'll be going live. And then on Thursday, I'm going to drop my first big board next. So this week I'm going to drop running backs on Thursday. Next week, I'm going to be dropping, next week I'm going to drop wide receivers. And the week after that, I'm going to drop linebackers. So those are the next 3. Those are the next. Yeah, I said I don't want it in the chat, Irving. So I don't even know why we're discussing it right now. If I tell you I don't want it in the chat, don't put it in the chat. So, those are the next 3 big boards, and then that'll lead us up into free agency. Then obviously free agency is going to take over for a little bit. And while free agency happens and we figure out and holes get filled, then we're going to follow that up with the remaining big boards. And depending on how they fill out, I'm either going to drop another 2. I always give you at least 5 big boards, but I might be giving you guys 6 this year. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to do 3 over the next 3 weeks. Free agency will hit, and then let's get it. Actually, hold on a sec. I apologize. Free agency, yeah. Okay, so we might actually only get 2 done because totally timing off. Freaking 28 days in February, eh? So we're gonna aim for getting 3 over the next 3 weeks. So you know what? I might get it done leading up to free agency. I'll have the linebacker one hopefully wrapped leading up into free agency. So then even the first week of free agency, I can drop that big board on you guys. And if I don't have it done, I'll drop it like the Monday after free agency. And then on Thursday, I'll give you 2 big boards in 1 week. So either way, you guys are getting big boards galore starting right now. And they're going to be detailed, informative, the best in the Dolphins community on YouTube. As always, every year, you know how I do it. All right, guys, we are going to see you guys right back here tomorrow. I appreciate all of you for spending some of your Monday night with you. Irving, I still love you. Don't think I don't love you, bro. And Scotty Joe, I do agree that Watson out of North Dakota is fucking special, but we do not have a history of drafting small. Christian Watson, I'm going to tell y'all right now when that wide receiver big board drops. I'll keep warning you every time I talk about it. The only reason Christian Watson is as low as he is on my big board is because I truly believe they're not going to draft him. I don't know why. I just believe they're not going to draft him. We just have a history of not drafting small school guys. That's us. I hate it, but that's what it is right now. We miss out on dudes because of it. Also, shout out to Rafael Lopez. He said he donated $2.43. He said, "Reason, love your work, bro. Keep the Patreon great. Appreciate you, Rafael." But yeah, Christian Watson, don't take it personally when you see him that I'm not as high on him. I love the player. I just don't think they're going to draft him. I just don't think they're going to. Like, I've got him pretty high for where I think they're even going to draft, like how even they're going to have him. I love the guy, but I just don't trust them. And I don't want to like get overly invested. Because we know that man's stock has been rising, especially over the last, since January, right? So, I mean, it's really obvious because, obviously he was the talk of the town at the Senior Bowl. So you knew his stock was going to rise, but I just don't think they're going to take him. And, Jameson Williams, if he falls there, would be awesome. Treylon Burks, if we're talking receivers. There's going to be receivers there. It's just which one slide. Because I'm going to tell you right now. I'm talking about Garrett. I'm not talking about offensive linemen. I'm talking about wide receivers. Historically, they don't draft wide receivers from small schools. They try to stick to top 5 to powerhouses. So yeah, I mean, Christian Watson was clearly one of the biggest risers of the Senior Bowl. I love the kid. I just don't think they're going to take him. And that's why I have him lower on my list. It's really just because I don't trust them. So, but I mean, I am not as high on like Chris Olave as a lot of people are. Everyone knows, like, I've been driving that Drake London bandwagon for I don't know how long on this platform. I love Drake London, but he ain't going to be there. If he's there, wow. And I think Jahan Dotson is overrated. I think people are overrating him, to be honest with you. I wouldn't take him in the first. His size, I'm sorry, we already have Waddle. I don't need another one like that. I'd rather, like, you can wait and go get Wan'Dale Robinson. You can wait longer and go get and not spend as high as a pick and go get Wan'Dale Robinson. So, all right, guys, I am going to be back tomorrow night. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Reason, let's say Linderbaum and Burks are available. Who do you take? Oh my God, I don't think you can go wrong with either one in this offense. I don't think you can go either wrong. Ask me after free agency. All right, I love each. David Bell is better. Yes, David Bell is better. David Bell is a top 5 receiver in this draft. I'm sorry. David Bell is a top 5 receiver in this draft. All right. Appreciate each and every one of y'all. I will see all y'all tomorrow night. Until then, y'all know what time it is, baby. Fins up all day, every day, baby.